So, hey, listen, welcome back. This is Josh. And today, listen, I have a fantastic guest on the show. His name is Martin Perdomo. He's known as the elite strategist. And Martin is not only have 24 years of business experience and has built a multi-million-dollar investment portfolio, including multifamily properties and flips, but he's also a certified mindset coach and speaker. Martin is also the host of the Latinos in Real Estate Investing podcast. And today we're going to talk about a couple things. Number one, we're going to talk about 3 specific marketing campaigns that Martin is using to prep the market for some of the softness, some of the crash, some of the slowdown that's happening in 2023. So we're going to talk about those 3 marketing strategies. Number 2, we're going to talk about Martin's podcast and content production team. We're going to talk specifically about how he records videos, how he puts them online, how he syndicates this stuff out to Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and podcasts and YouTube. Martin's built a following of over 400,000 followers and friends on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. That's brought him deal flow and investors and credibility. And I wanted him to explain to you, our audience, exactly how he does it and exactly how he executes it. Also, number 3, we're going to talk about Martin's start. Martin was actually born in the United States as an immigrant from the Dominican Republic with absolutely nothing. Was actually raised in the ghetto in the Dominican Republic with a tin roof house, and how he was able to then move into and out of the ghetto of New York City to become a multimillionaire real estate investor. And finally, we're going to talk about the one big shift or the one big thing that Martin feels like you must do to succeed in 2023 and 2024 as the market continues to evolve. So you're going to love this content, this podcast, this interview with Martin Perdomo, the elite strategist. Here we go.
Welcome to the Accelerated Investor Podcast with Josh Cantwell. If you're looking to retire early with forever passive income, you're in the right place. This podcast is the go-to destination for real estate investors, both active and passive, and multifamily apartment investors, both new, intermediate, and advanced. Now, sit back, listen, learn, and accelerate your business, your life, and your investing with the Accelerated Investor Podcast.
So, hey, Martin, listen, been really looking forward to having you on the show, and so glad you were able to make some time to join us today. So welcome to Accelerated Investor.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me. Really a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So Martin, let's talk about what you're up to right now. Obviously, we're rolling into the holidays, wrapping up 2022, going into 2023. The market's obviously made a major shift and change this year. So tell our audience a little bit, as we kind of get to know you, a little bit more about some of the things that you're working on right now that you're either really excited about or things that you're working on that are giving you some anxiety as we wrap up the end of the year.
I have a little bit of both, John.
Yeah.
First thing I'm working on is I'm working on a refi for a 57-unit apartment building we bought earlier this year. And it was a great buy. We bought it for $3 million. It appraised as it was at 4.5 without us doing anything to it. Sounds good, right? We raised the rents from an average of $700 to $1,100 a month, $1,000 to $1,100. Great deal, right? Well, interest rates going up, money tightening up. Believe it or not, we're having difficult time getting someone to commit to that loan and refining. With all this equity we have, we're getting close to the finish line. We currently have a bank that's has given us a commitment, and keeping our fingers crossed, because it's weird out there right now. As you know, it's weird times, man. But we'll weather this storm, and I'm excited. That's a little bit keeping me up at night, a little bit worried about that. I got some investors that we we promised to give them their money back, including my own money. I have some of my own money in the deal, and we want to keep playing. We want to. 2023 is going to be a great year for real estate and with tons of opportunities, in my opinion. And we want to make sure we have cash and we're ready to execute. One of the things I'm really excited about is I've always romanticized with owning hotels, and we're about to put our first offer on a hotel, and we're excited about that. We are really, really excited about that because
So Martin, yeah, we're having a lot of the same, thoughts and feelings and questions around refinances. We've got a huge part of our portfolio that's already been refied, and what fairly easy back in 2020, 2021, 2022, early 2022 of refining those, because interest rates were, between 3.5% and 4.5%. Now, of course, we're constrained by debt service coverage, right? We have to have enough net operating income to have a 1.25 coverage ratio. And that's creating this new challenge, right? Is making sure that although the value's there, somebody would buy the building, the debt becomes burdensome, especially at 6.25, 6.5. And so why don't you just kind of explain your thoughts on debt service coverage and specifically about the troubles of refis right now, and why also in 2023, 2024, how that might impact your buying strategy to actually buy properties at maybe a lower price per door?
For sure. That's a great question, by the way. I was on a call with my investors, I'm going to say a month ago, and my business partner on that deal, she jokingly said, so we bought this particular property in January, and my business partner jokingly said to my investors on the Zoom call, she was like, hey, we bought it in January, guys, and Martin's been talking to banks since February, March about refi. And I'm going to tie it back into the question you just asked, is because I've been studying and I've been watching the Feds, and this has been coming. If you're studying this business and you're paying attention and you're a professional investor, you could have seen this coming. Unfortunately for us, if we would have been stabilized, then we would have been able to refi into better rates and we would have been good. That wasn't the case. It took 6-7 months to stabilize the asset. So I think that it's challenging. I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities next year with people that, look, you and I were both competing last year with other investors, right? We were writing up offers, and I'm sure you probably had the same experience. How are they penciling those deals? How are they making those deals work, right? When the margins were so thin. And, there's going to be a lot of those guys that have bridge debt that are going to be in trouble. They can't refi because the DSCR won't work. I mean, I have banks telling me 1.30, right? DSCR. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. We started talking 60, 90 days ago. You said 120, then you went up to 125. Now you're at 1.30. It's like, money tightening. It's clear that the money is getting tighter. However, with adversity, there's also opportunity. So I'm excited about the potential opportunities that's coming down the pipeline here in 23 and 24. I think that interest rates will give in. Historically, Josh, if you probably know this, during election years, interest rates tend to go down. Just, they say it's not politicized, but just coincidentally, if you look at history and interest rates, you will coincidentally find that interest rates tend to go down in an election year. We're heading into one real soon here.
Yep.
So that'll be exciting to see.
And I think, the Fed fight against inflation is still around. Have to raise rates a little bit more, but I think they're already seeing some impact. Like house prices have obviously flattened out a little bit, even possibly gone down, especially along the coastlines. Used cars, campers, things that people there was very little inventory and money was cheap. So there was a lot of fight to buy those assets, used cars, new cars, campers, motorhomes, RVs. That's starting to soften a lot. And I really feel, and what I've been telling my audience and even telling my investors is, look, 2023 is going to be a great time to buy because other people, Martin, as you mentioned, are going to be bumping into these these interest rate caps that are going to expire. The cost of their debt's going to go up, and they're going to have to sell and they can't, or they're going to have to refi and they can't. So it might not be the best year for us to refinance. But the good thing is that building that you bought, where you have $2-3 million of equity and you raise the rents by $400, even though you want your cash out, you want your investors out, you don't have to, right? You could just hold that thing for another 2 years, let this thing, interest rates go up and then slide back down, maybe at the end of 2024, right during the election. Maybe the Fed then starts to ease interest rates back down into the 5s, and then you refi. You only lose money in this game, Martin, as you know, when you're either selling or refinancing at the wrong time, right? Yeah. Sounds like you've insulated yourself with long-term financing. That's what we've done. So the guys that did buy with bridge loans in the last 1 to 4 years that are about to just hit a serious hard place, those are the guys that are going to need to sell. So I'm curious, how are you going to plan on capturing that? Like, you have salespeople, you have an organization. I tend to feel like those distressed deals are not going to just get listed with brokers. If you have a distressed building, you're probably going to you might not be wanting to publicize that in the form of putting it out there with a broker or a realtor. I tend to think that those deals are going to happen more off market. How do you feel about that? And how are you going to capitalize on it?
Agreed. That's a good question. 2 months ago, we started a marketing campaign, a direct mail marketing campaign. So, and I'll share this with your audience. We started, again, I'm constantly studying the market. I'm constantly spending time thinking about, hey, what's my next move? Trying to anticipate. As you know, anticipation is power in any game, in any business, right? If you can try to anticipate what's coming ahead, you can then position yourself in a place to win. So we were very specific. We started a direct mail campaign already we're in December. Let's call it December. Tomorrow, the day after is December 1st. So we're doing it once a quarter. We wanted to start seeding any potential investors. So what we did was we were very particular in the list that we bought. So we bought a list of people that had high probability of being in bridge debt that bought over the last 5 years. And then we also marketed to board and, type mom and pop investors. Mm-hmm. So we've already started a marketing campaign. Another thing that we started doing to be ahead of it is we also have a television commercial. We started marketing on television, which is very unorthodox, right? It's not common for real estate investors to advertise on television, but we've started a marketing branding campaign for distressed sellers, looking for those distressed sellers, sorry. And then lastly, the other thing that we started being very intentional around is that we started a text blasting campaign for the brokers, right? Because we want to start getting in front of those brokers, right? So we're going after the sellers directly. And then if we miss them, then we want to partner up with brokers that they might get them, and we want to be top of their list. So we've also started a marketing strategy and a marketing campaign for those guys where we're touching them once a month. In my podcast, I do a monthly market update. I get data from CoStar and a bunch of different places. And what we're doing is we're then now providing value to them via text to the brokers, like, hey, here's the latest market update. We kind of put it in a 5-minute thing, and just easy for you to digest, and just providing value to them so that they can provide to their customers. Those are some of the things that we're kind of playing and strategically looking ahead at where our opportunities can be.
Yeah. And I think, look, some sellers, we never know which route they're going to pick, right? Some sellers are willing to sell directly to a buyer, no wholesaler in the middle, no broker in the middle. Other sellers will engage with the wholesaler, because wholesalers, I know some wholesalers in town that are just relentless with a sales team of calling and following up, and they have a legit sales crew, and they're really good. And that's not part of my business plan, but I then partner up with those wholesalers, and they wholesale those deals to me. Last year I paid one wholesaler $305,000 for an apartment building. I paid another wholesaler $65,000 for a different apartment building. So we buy that. Why? We don't know who the seller is going to make a relationship with. The third thing the seller could do is if they're very sophisticated and they've already probably have a relationship with a large brokerage, maybe a Newmark or a Cushman or a Marcus and Millichap or a Colliers, then they might go to that broker and say, hey, go ahead and sell this to me. But then even with that, there's a fourth option, which is they could sell it off market with that broker if the broker has a relationship with a buyer, Martin, like you or me, or they could go and quote unquote run the process to do a full marketing campaign, a call for offers and the whole bit. We just don't know what that seller's going to pick and decide, or what the buy. So your plan here of buying the list, direct to seller, TV commercial, texting the broker sounds like a really well-rounded approach. Now, on top of that, Martin, you have an amazing social media presence. You've built up 160,000 followers on Instagram. You have a massive following on YouTube, your podcast, social media, via Facebook and LinkedIn. So tell me how that has impacted your business when it comes to getting deals, when you're maybe in a competitive situation and you have this, you've put in the time, you've planted all the seeds to have this social media following. How has that helped you win deals, specifically where you're in a competitive situation?
It's vital, right? It's been vital to us, to our business, because it's what people see and perceive, right? It's probably reason I started a podcast is because I love doing it. First of all, my purpose is to empower others, right? That's my purpose in life. Empower others to be the best version of themselves. That's my purpose in life. And I know real estate. I know it well. So I decided that I wanted to start a podcast about something I know well, and also empower people, right? I come from nothing. So if I can, I remember being broke and poor, Josh, and thinking, who can help me? Who can teach me? I just need someone to teach me. I don't want anyone giving me anything. I don't want nothing handed to me. Just teach me, and then I'll go do it. Just teach me how to do it. And I could, it's through mentorship and masterminds and things like that, I decided, hey, I'm going to be that person. So it's taken me years to build that, but it's been absolutely vital to my business. I raise a lot of money from, we get a lot of capital raised from social media. We're putting out there. I also flip, right? So we do flips here in town. So I show in my social media, I show the good, the bad, and the ugly, man. I show it all, right? Like I don't just show people the good stuff. There's bad days, man. That there's bad days in our business. There's days that, we got tenants that are not paying us or trashing our place, or people make mistakes. No, it doesn't matter how good your management team is. You're gonna have, someone's gonna slip the crack. Someone's gonna go back, right? It just happens. It's just a matter of when. But it's been absolutely crucial. I am totally grateful. I'm up to the point now that I have a social media team that kind of manages that stuff for me, running multiple businesses, and as busy as I am, and probably you are as well, with everything that we're doing, it's hard to be on there all of the time. And I'm blessed to have a great team. They stay on top of it. I go out and I create the content, and they make me look good. I personally engage with everyone personally. I have a set time where I'm just, responding, but I find that to be the key, is to be relatable to people. And I personally respond to everyone when I can. I take set times to do so. But it's been absolutely vital. I've won deals because of it. Again, that credibility in the space where people look me up and they're like, he's legit, right? And a lot of times when you're negotiating off-market deals, and my team is out there negotiating deals and or looking for deals for us, is the biggest seller's biggest concern, as you may know, is, can you close? Can you really close? Are you really who you say you are? Right. And
is key.
Yeah. So the minute they go to Google and they look us up, yeah, they can close. So that's the biggest thing that it's done for us. It's just throws it out the window. Can you close?
Are you ready to automate and explode your real estate investing? We're searching for extremely motivated individuals who are sick and tired of wasting time and want to finally see real results from their real estate investing business. We're searching for investors looking to get to the next level and become a bigger, better version of themselves while being a more successful real estate investing entrepreneur. Apply for mentoring and coaching at joshcantwellcoaching.com/podcast. That's joshcantwellcoaching.com/podcast.
So Martin, let's pull back the onion a little bit on your social media, your game, right? So let's talk about some of the actual team. You and I have a voice. We want to go out. We want to put that voice out into the world, but we don't want to record the video, edit the video, upload it to Stitcher and SoundCloud and YouTube and Spotify, and then create blog posts out of it and Instagram posts from it. But all that has to be done, right? So tell me about your production. I'm specifically thinking for our audiences that will listen to this, that want to raise more money, that want to, have a voice of their own. I feel like there's two things. If you want to be really good in multifamily in particular, you have to, one, have a voice, and two, run a meetup or run some sort of group, some sort of live event. Both of those give you immediate credibility and authority because you're either in front of the camera or you're in front of the room, right? And people look up to the person who's either in front of the camera or in front of the room. So a lot of people want to do it, but they're like, I don't have a voice. I don't know what to say. I'm going to be embarrassed. I don't know what to do. And then, like, how do I produce all this? The execution of the technology, the execution of the posting. So let's start with your team. So do you have like a dedicated guy that just films you all day? Do you have a dedicated production team that then takes it, edits it, and posts it? Describe that for our audience so they can know what it's going to take to, and you don't have to, you're not going to build up what Martin's built or what I've built overnight, but let's talk about where you're at today, Martin, and then we can maybe backtrack into kind of maybe some starting blocks.
So I'm glad you mentioned the meetup because I have a meetup and I love doing that. I just did it 2 days before Thanksgiving. So last week I did it, and it's I've been doing that for 3 years now, almost going on 4 almost. So yeah, that's one other thing that I do is I do the meetup. So yeah, so as far as the team, it's, believe it or not, it's a lot of it is like right now I'm in my studio. Right now I'm in my studio. I have full-fledged studio. I have my camera, all of my equipment set up. I basically come in here and I'm creating, whether I'm recording a podcast, if I'm in the studio, I'm recording a podcast, doing a podcast, or creating content, right? And when it's here, I basically record. We use different type of software. Let me see if I can see the name of the one. Ecamm. I use something called Ecamm Live. Don't know if you're familiar with it. And you can go live on multiple streams there, multiple social media there. You can self-record, and from there, I usually what I use is we use Dropbox, which many people are familiar, and we just upload to Dropbox, and then my team takes it from there. They create shorts, they create vlogs from there. They take it from there and they do it. As far as I don't have a media crew following me around. Not there quite yet.
You just turn the camera around.
I basically turn on the phone, brother. I basically turn on the phone. My team has they've done all the research for me, and I carry mics in my truck, so I have a little lava mics in the truck, and I have a selfie stick. So when I'm out there, I'm just like, all right, let me record this rehab while these guys are here. We just ran into this problem here. Actually, I have on my YouTube an interesting video of I had a rehab, a property we bought, a small multi that we purchased, and the lady literally told me, Josh, I'm not gonna pay you rent, she told me. And it's gonna take 6 months to get me out of here. And I laughed at her and I said, you really don't know who you're playing with, but okay. And that lady, the day that we were evicting her, 45 days later, I got it on camera and the constable was there, and that's just because I just have everything there.
Yeah.
And so it's really, really interesting vlog, but that's some of the stuff that I do. I just carry my stuff with me. It's in the truck, and whenever I'm up and about, I just pull it out and go. As far as I got 3 people on the social media. I got someone that manages the podcast and just strictly just editing. That's all they do. I got someone that's managing the videos, editing the videos, and then I got someone that's just putting the content in all the different social media platforms at all times. We're about to take a little break because we're going into season 2 of Latinos in Real Estate Investing podcast, Behind Closed Doors, which you'll be on the podcast soon. And we're kind of going behind closed doors of really behind closed doors of what real estate investors really like. And so we're excited about that. So that's the team. It's nothing really elaborate or crazy. I remember just everything that you said. Editing the podcast, uploading it to Stitch, doing it. That stuff just makes my stomach cringe because at the beginning, I was doing all of that. And I'm not good at it.
Right.
I suck at it, to be quite honest with you. I'm so grateful for these guys that I just give it to them and they just do it and they make me look good.
Yeah.
And a lot, what I find is that if you plan on using social media, right, it needs to be a long-term plan, just like it is with real estate, right? You and I both know that real estate is long-term. It's not wait to buy. Don't wait to buy real estate. It's buy real estate and wait. It's a long-term play. And I believe in social media, it's also a long-term play. It's just that consistency, paying attention to what people are wanting, what people are telling you, and just being consistent.
Love it.
With it.
Martin, where did you think your social media broke through? Meaning when the time frame from when you made the commitment to start posting over the long haul to the point where you kind of woke up one day and you're like, oh crap, like our views, our followers, like it's really taken off. Like it's really kind of now hockey sticking up. How long was that process? And did you post daily, weekly, multiple times a week? I want our audience, because you're actively involved in this just like me. I want them to see that if you do the social media along with raising money, along with finding deals, like to me, those are the 3 keys. It's marketing, finding deals, finding money. Do those 3 things and do them over the long haul. You can't really lose at this game. Again, unless you go back to my comment at the beginning, which is you have to sell or refi at the wrong time. As long as you avoid that, you go long term, you're going to be fine. So for you made the commitment, you're into it. Was it 3 months? Was it 6 months? Was it a year? Was it a couple years? How long did it really take you to really start to see that hockey stick growth and then say, wow, like this thing's really taken off?
I got to tell you, brother, I still think that I'm just getting started. Like that, to me, it just feels like in real estate, even, I don't have as many stores as you do right now. And yet it still feels like to me, like, hey, there's so much more to go. I'm just getting started. There's so much more to go. And, even I look at my social media right now, it's like, man, I still have so much more to go. Like I look at people, they got a million followers, 2 million followers. I'm like, man, yeah, you might be famous, but how do I get there? Like I'm always asking, how can I do it? If you can do it, I can do it. And it's just, I still feel like a novice. I still feel like I'm learning. I still feel like I have so much more to go. I still feel like I have to become a better communicator. I still have to, so many areas I still feel like I have to improve. But to answer your question in short, I think it was really, I had a mindset shift, and it was, okay, I'm gonna commit to this, and I'm going to build a team around it. It was when I started letting go of some of the stuff, of some of the things that I don't like to do, editing. When I really committed, I said, okay, if I'm really gonna do this long term, and I want to raise money, and I want to find deals, and I want to get that credibility in the space, I got to invest in this like I invest in my business. And it was really then, for me, when it happened, that consistency then started to really happen. Because now, hey, I'm here doing this podcast interview with you, and my people are editing. I just recorded my 2023 market predictions right yesterday. They're working on that right now. I don't know when they're going to put it up, but they're putting that together right now. So things are getting done while I'm not necessarily doing it. So
the message I think I'm hearing from you, Martin, is it doesn't really matter when the impact happens, but if you take the long-term approach, there's going to be impact, and then it's going to specifically result in finding deals, finding money, and then along with that, winning deals that you maybe would have lost if you didn't have a social media presence. Deals coming to you from social media. It all kind of compounds and mushrooms on top of that. It's fantastic stuff. Martin, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned briefly, I came from nothing. I was broke, I was poor. Tell our audience about that. What was it like, and how did you make the transition into real estate?
So for me, my mom came pregnant here with me. My mother, we're originally from Dominican Republic. My mother came pregnant here with me. And when you think, I want your audience to think and visualize a third world country, right? A third world country, the poor, right? Where the roofs of my house was a tin roof, that when it rained in my house. So my mother came pregnant with me here. And when she came here, she had no place to stay. So she sent me back when I was born to be with my grandmother. And I lived in the Dominican Republic the first 5 years of my life. Then we came back at the age of 5, I came back to the US and I went to school here, graduated from high school here and all that stuff. But I lived in Washington Heights in New York City, which is the ghetto, right, of New York, all the way uptown, the George Washington Bridge, tons of drugs and tons of violence and things like that. But my mom kicked me out at 16, Josh. And when I was sleeping in trains and in the beach and in rooftops, I remember I made an unconscious decision. I remember that being such a painful state for me, being in that situation. I realized at an early age, human being needs two things: shelter and food. And then, right then and there, I made a decision that I was going to own a lot of real estate so that I don't ever have to go through that pain again. It wasn't going away from pain, which is not necessarily good, but it was a decision I made, right? I made that decision that I was going to own a lot of real estate and people needed a place to live, and then I started really understanding people got to pay to the owner to live. And I was like, whoa, this is something even better, right? Now I can make a lot of money doing this. So that's kind of when I made that decision, and it was an unconscious decision. I realized I came into real estate, bought my first deal in 2007. I was a broker. I was a mortgage broker, bought my first duplex in 2007. 2 years later, I was $100,000 on the water. I made a statement to you earlier, is don't wait to buy real estate and wait. And recently I just bought a distressed triplex not too far from my office here. And the appraiser comes to my office. He says to me, I say to him, hey, Jeff, what are you bringing this appraisal in at, right? And he's like, I don't know, but here he hands me this manila envelope with comps. And I'm like, okay, let me look at that. And I find a property 2 doors down from the first property I bought, right? 2 doors down from the first property I bought, exactly the same, just sold a month ago for $385,000. So just remember this: 2007, I paid $275,000. I was a broker. I made 15 grand. I got to the table. I got the asset, and I kept 15 grand. Like 2 years later, the property was $100,000 in the water, and now 14 years later, the property appreciated by $110,000.
Oh, that's a great story. It's a
right?
Great example, direct example of buy real estate and wait. And you only get baked, you only get cooked if you had sold in 2009 when it was $100,000 less. Yep. And a lot of people did that. They got in 05, 06, 07. And a lot of people now, same thing, right? They got in 2019, 2021. They got with bridge loans. And now they're going to get cooked because they can't sell or refi in 2023, 2024. Guys like you and I that lived through that and that know better are going to be waiting for those assets to fall into distress. You have a sales team or brokers or wholesalers, TV commercials, text blasting. It's all bringing you those opportunities. And as long as you can, again, assemble the capital stack, whether it's debt and equity, investors, whatever you have, now you're going to be able to buy that stuff, or it could be 20, 30. I don't think we're going to see deals at 50, 70% off like we did in 08, 09, 10, but we're going to see stuff that's 20, 30% off for sure. no question about it. And then it's going to be, again, buy real estate and wait. Just let it appreciate and let it rip into 2030, and then maybe sell it, liquidate it, and you're rich and going crazy. So outside of Martin, buy real estate and wait, right? Outside of all the marketing I just mentioned, like you're obviously a marketing machine through buying lists and TV commercials and text blasts and your social media game. What other advice, as we kind of wrap up here, what kind of things do you think you did right along your journey over the last 15 years? And what's maybe one of the two or things that you look back on that maybe you thought maybe I didn't do that quite right, that you learned from, that you'll apply going forward?
Best investment you'll ever make, hands down, and this is going to sound cliche, for guys like you and me, people coming on our podcast, achievers like us, like you hear this all the time, invest in yourself. Like the best decision I ever made was when I decided that I was going to take serious my personal development, that I was really going to not skimp on it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to Ohio tomorrow. I'm flying out to Ohio tomorrow to a 2-day workshop with one of the biggest rehabbers in the country, right? He's doing 40 rehabs a month and something like that. So just constantly investing in myself, right? I'm constantly investing in myself. So one of the things I should have done earlier was made that decision. So I made 6 figures when I was 24 selling insurance after reading a book. The name of that book is The Magic of Thinking Big. And I was struggling financially. You probably read the book by David Schwartz, Magic of Thinking Big. That book shifted my mind. I had a paradigm shift, and immediately over the next 12 months, my dream was to make 100 grand. I made it. Where I missed it was I used to think I discovered something, and I discovered my power. I played with it a little bit, right? With my mental power, my mindset power. And I used to think I could turn it on and off, right? I used to think I can just, hey, I discovered this thing. So I know that if I think big enough, or if I can visualize something big enough and I get to work, I can do it. But I used to get lazy. So I used to go towards and away. I mentioned going away from earlier. When you hit a certain, that thermometer, right? You hit a certain income. Now it's like, I'm calm again, right? So it's just working on yourself. And I did that. I did that for many years. And it wasn't until I committed, like, hey, there's still so much more for me to learn. There's still so much more for me to go and grow and learn and get better. It was really when I took off, when I started going to some Tony Robbins events. I play full out, man. Everything I do, I play full out. My business partner is going to a Date with Destiny event. I don't know if you've been to Tony Robbins Date with Destiny. She's going tomorrow on the first day after tomorrow, a couple of days, 7 days. That's an intense, that event, not to promote Tony or his event, but I gotta tell you, that event changed my life. That one event really changed, it had really major paradigm shifts. But to me, it's been that investing in myself, that commitment in myself. You can take all of my real estate, you can take everything I have, but you can never take away what I've learned. You can never take away my skill set. You can never take away what I have up here.
Yeah, you can make a small shift in your social media game, or that's more of a tactic, right? You can make a small shift in your marketing for deal flow. That's a tactic. A small shift in your ad spend on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram. That's a tactic. A lot of people are like, well, what can I do to make money right now? I think the answer is you have to lever up and make a major lever pull on yourself. That's the biggest leverage point you could ever change, is the way you think, the way you look at the world, the way you look at yourself, the way you look at money, the way you appreciate where you came from, the struggle, where you think you can go, right? For a lot of people, it's just, where can I go? And the ceiling is it's right above their head, versus, man, your ceiling is so much higher. And like, people would look at you and say, oh, look at all these Instagram followers and look at this podcast. And you're like, dude, I'm just getting started. That is a mindset shift that happened when you decided to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
That's the application, right? Great, amazing stuff. So Martin, listen, As we wrap up the show, again, tell our audience where they can connect with you, obviously on Instagram, obviously all over social media. Where else can they engage with you if they want to joint venture with you, invest with you, do deals with you? Where can they go?
You can check out my YouTube channel. Also come to my, you can check out my website, scalepropertyfinders.com. And make sure you come visit my podcast, right? Check out my podcast. I'm always talking about mindset stuff. I have guys like yourself on there all the time, high level people, just bringing them in and talking about these really important topics of mindset, right? Because what we could talk interest rates and all of that stuff all day long. And if people can't really understand just what you said, I love the way you put that, Josh, that lever, right? What's that lever? If people can't really understand that that's a lever you got to pull, right? You can listen to our podcast all day long and you won't take action, and you'll just be a really smart, educated, listening to smart people. But if you don't believe you can, you won't. So check out my podcast. Come visit us in our podcast and check out my YouTube. I'm constantly putting out things out there, and I respond to all my stuff.
Awesome stuff. We'll put all that stuff in the show notes, guys. Make sure you check it out. Of course, we're going to push this all over social media from our side as well. So Martin, listen, fantastic job on the interview today. Congratulations on all your success.
Same to you, brother. Congratulations to you, man. You're doing really big things. Congratulations on your podcast. Awesome. And congratulations to all of your success, my friend.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it very much. And we'll see you guys next time. Martin, thanks so much for joining us today on Accelerated Investor.
Thank you, brother.
Well, listen, guys, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Martin. I love where he's coming from. I love that he's coming from this place of gratitude, this place of really starting with nothing, but this place of constantly leveling up his business, himself, and the levers that he's trying to pull to become a better, more successful real estate investor, a more successful person, and have bigger and bigger impact. If you enjoyed this interview, please, I'd be so grateful if you would leave us a rating, leave us a review, and share this all over social media. And finally, don't forget to subscribe to the video, and also go visit joshcantwellcoaching.com to become one of our members in our Forever Passive Income Mastermind. Also visit foreverpassiveincome.com to grab a ticket to our next live event. Forever Passive Income Live is online. It's coming. Go ahead and register at foreverpassiveincome.com. We'll see you next time. Take care.
You were just listening to the Accelerated Investor Podcast with Josh Cantwell. If you enjoyed this episode and learned something new, help us build the AI community by leaving a review and 5-star rating on our iTunes podcast channel. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. To see passive investing opportunities, visit freelandventures.com/passive. To start your journey toward the lifestyle you've always dreamed of with multifamily apartments, apply for one-on-one coaching with Josh at www.joshcantwellcoaching.com.